This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
You're listening to Talking Heads with Naughty and Mary Jane. Only on Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Talking Heads with Naughty and MJ is brought to you by Burger King, Fine Threads, the Free National Movement, John's Department Store, KFC, Naughty Johnny's, Prince Masters, the Progressive Liberal Party, and Tropical Gyros.
I never ask you, nothing when you tell me. I beg you daily to cease and still you keep talking. Me granny tell me from your little baby, he that keep at his mouth shall stay out of problem. It seems like it was a news carrying jail, so I ain't carrying on. Same out that chatter with me, well, chatter of him, murder rap big in farm. Oh, your mouth I go put you in a problem. Oh, say see a kaya mountain. You are go weak. Say see a kaya teeth. Creation make a ball. See a kaya mount. Every thief is a liar. Every liar is a thief. My you tell me Teflon hate me. Say what? Then you tell Teflon can excite him like a dose of poison. Don't believe you. You're wicked. Oh man. Yes. You tell me woman tell me you have another lady. Then you tell me a man will live a high rise. Murder among them I see.
You've got it locked and loaded to the Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads. Your boy Naughty along with MJ and your company right up until 6 p.m. It is Monday and it is an open line edition. We got lots to talk about. Lots coming in off the weekend. MJ, what's good?
Hey, I'm great. I hope everyone else out there is doing well as well.
Boy, we got plenty to talk about. All right. So we want everybody to chime in. We want them to be part of the conversation today, obviously. And if you want to chime in and be a part of the convo, here's how.
Here's how you can become a talking head. Brought to you by BTC.
Text lines powered by BTC. 422-GR96. That's 422-4796. Phone lines open in New Providence. 323-6232, 325-4259, 325-4316. Toll free in any one of the family islands, 242-300-5720, 242-300-5720. Stream us live, take us wherever you want to go. GuardianTalkRadio.com. That's GuardianTalkRadio.com. All right. So where do we start? A lot coming in off the weekend. And I mean, plenty to talk about. And like I said, I don't know where to start. MJ, where do we start with this?
I don't know. I mean, there were lots of big rallies over the weekend. So the campaign season is definitely in full form right now. You know, there was a big rally on R.M. Bailey Park and then another big rally down in Grand Bahama. So, yeah, definitely active right now.
Definitely, silly season is upon us, but I don't think people should really be getting worked up over crowd size to determine how an election is going to go. Because let's be real, I think you and I have both seen over the years that, crowd size don't mean a thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're definitely looking to see who's putting the ideas out there that people are most enthusiastic about, and are showing a clear path to execute the ideas that they that they promulgate in the public square. So yeah, I don't judge crowd sizes. I mean, everybody's been well supported so far, I think. So yeah, we'll just leave the guessing for election day. That's when we'll know for sure what's going on in the minds of Bahamians.
Yes, indeed. I mean, we got to be 28 days away.
Yeah, so it's less than a month away.
All right. So what we're going to do right now, let's take the first break. And on the flip side of the break, we'll get into the buzz brought to you by John Shoes. And we need to talk about the rallies. We need to talk about certain things popping up along the way as far as the rallies go. The mention yesterday of the F&M, potentially saying that they will go to a lottery, exercise the Freedom of Information Act within 90 days. We've heard from the PRP, so we got a lot of that to talk about. And then we need to talk about, intellectual property.
Intellectual property?
Yeah, I see a lot of piggybacking of ideas by political leaders of political parties.
Oh, yeah, no.
I would think that they would have enough vision and enough integrity to come up with ideas on their own. They wouldn't have to rely to pilfer ideas elsewhere, and then the audacity to say that somebody pilfered the idea from them and they pilfered it themselves.
I look at a lot of this differently. I've seen the comments online and heard some of the conversations around it, but I just think that if you have a good idea and it's going to be for the public benefit, then this fighting over, oh well, it was my idea. I don't know if that's what we need to focus on right now. It's kind of weird. I won't even lie, and it kind of boggles the mind. But yeah, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that plus many other things on the flip side of the break. The lines are going to be open too, so whatever's got your goat out there and you want to express yourself, feel free to chime in. MJ and I are here. We're here until 6. Lines are going to be open, so keep it right where you got it. The Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads continues right after this.
Craving something bold, fresh, and unforgettable? Tropical Gyros is your flavor-packed escape, a Carib-Greek fusion born right here in Nassau. From juicy grilled salmon, chicken, and pork gyros to loaded bowls, fresh salads, wings, and more, there's something for every craving. Find Tropical Gyros at any of their locations, JFK Plaza, Rosetta Street, Port Lucaya Freeport, or their franchise spots on Prince Charles Drive, Soldier Road West, Delaport, and Carmichael Road. Tropical Gyros, not just good food, it's an experience.
John Shoes and Accessories is your one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. You will find what you're looking for among the growing collection of classic and trendy styles with new arrivals every week. John's covers the whole family and has great prices, helpful and friendly customer service. Your experience shopping with us will be time well spent. Shop with us online at www.johnshoes.com. John's also now carries small home appliances. So come on into John's, located on Rosetta Street in Palmdale and Carmichael Road West. John's, we put fashion at your feet.
Some medical facilities pride themselves on offering multiple services. At Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center, imaging is what we do. Same goes for imaging at Grosvenor. Whether you need an X-ray, mammogram, CAT scan, or ultrasound, we have a team of board-certified radiologists on staff, on site, each with their own area of expertise. Results are submitted to your doctor within 24 hours. Call 328-8157 to schedule an appointment at Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center or Imaging at Grosvenor today.
New roads and airports are connecting our islands. Energy reform is bringing electricity prices down, while young Bahamians are stepping up, gaining new skills for new opportunities. Respect for workers. Support for entrepreneurs. We're modernizing energy and infrastructure across our islands and preparing Bahamians to succeed in a new economy. Transformations this big take time. Let's choose progress. Paid for by the PLP.
KFC got that crispy onions crunch. Take a bite, it's a smile. Sweet onion sauce drip, happy running down my side. Pepper jack cheese, bring a little playful wow. Burrito bun soft like a cloud on this ride. KFC, get chicky with it. Hey. Taste the sweet side of things. Every single bite, so lit it. Got my whole crew doing that thing. Crispy sweet onion sauce, pepper jack cheese going on.
Introducing the new Sweet Chicky Chicken Sandwich at KFC.
Let's get chicky with it.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM.
You're listening to Talking Heads with Naughty and Mary Jane. Only on Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
I say he that keepeth his mouth, you know, they shall belong. I never ask you, nothing when you tell me. I beg you daily to cease and still you keep talking.
Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads. Your boy Naughty along with MJ and your company right up until 6 p.m. We're now into the buzz, of course, by John Shoes. And where do we start, MJ? Lines are open. We want to hear from everybody. But a couple of things jumped up off the page today with headlines. I saw one today in the headlines, government PPP defaults $25 million on the Obi Wilcombe complex.
Yeah, that's a big story. That I mean, I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it, but that is a huge story, particularly since, you know, PPPs have been so front and center, particularly during this last administration. And to hear that the government is now being sued along with a PPP company for defaulting on a $25 million bond. This raises a lot of questions. Raises questions about the PPP structure itself, whether it was sound in the first place. This raises questions, particularly since we see that the default amount, around $34 million, is now being put on taxpayers because the government...
How did that end up there? That's what I want to know. How we end up stuck footing the bill for this foolishness?
I mean, this is a winding story, and I would just... ask everyone to have a look at it. I think it appeared in the Tribune today. Yeah, I think it appeared in the Tribune today. But the long and short of it is that, you know, you had this bond offering around $25 million that this PPP company, it's also a construction company, received to build that complex that we call the Obi Wilcombe complex. There was another investor, a huge investor, a company out of Jamaica that invested some $9 million as well. The long and short of it is that the private capital, that company, was unable to make their bond payments because the government did not pay their rent. And now, for some reason, the government tried to get out of that lawsuit. That was rejected. And it looks like the entirety of the amount, the $34 million, is now going to have to be paid by taxpayers. I mean, this is a phenomenal story. And like I said, I would advise everyone to just, you know, I don't know if the Tribune has it online yet, but just have a look at that story because it is amazing. It raises so many governance questions. It raises so many questions about the parties involved and the way that the government kind of presented this debt to the public initially. And the fact that this has failed in such a magnificent way really, you know, raises questions about what these PPPs are.
Right. We need to know what the vetting process is. Who are these PPPs? Who's the minister responsible for coming into the partnership with this entity?
Why the government couldn't pay their rent on time? Why sometimes they have to direct payments in order for the investors to get their dividends payment? I mean, this is a really, really just like mind-boggling story. The main headline being that the government failed to pay their rent on this particular building. Like, why did that happen? And now we have the complete debt. And, you know, the whole point of PPPs is that the taxpayers don't have to assume debt on certain projects. Well, we have the complete debt on this particular project. And from what we're being told or what's being reported out, the government is responsible for the default. So I don't know how they plan to explain how they allowed this to happen, if they're even going to bother to explain. Say that it looks like, based on the way they positioned this debt on the budget last year, it looks like the taxpayers have an additional $34 million in debt that we have to cover because this PPP was completely bungled.
You know, it's really disgraceful that we're in this position. It is really, you know, horrible that we're in a position. And wasn't this deal signed prior to the last election or very close to it or right after it?
And that is an interesting point too. You know, we've been talking about it. Our callers have been talking about what this caretaker phase should be like, where the government shouldn't be signing any big deals between now and election day, right? They're just in caretaker mode. This particular, the genesis of this particular project dates back to one day. I mean, before the election with the previous administration, not this one, but the one before that. So I think on the last Christie administration signed this deal one day before we went to elections. So I would just probably say, just as a citizen, just as a taxpayer, that I'm hopeful that this administration is mindful that we are in caretaker mode and there are certain conventions expected around that, which means that you should not be signing any more big deals in this period. You know, you shouldn't commit us to any big deals in this period. Let us go to elections. Let us figure out which direction we want to move in. And then you can resume, you know, working on the behalf of the Bahamian people, whichever party wins. But to be signing these big deals and signing huge deals that commit us, and especially when it ends up like this, where the taxpayers have to pay 30-something million for a deal gone wrong one day before election, I think that's acceptable.
Let's go to the phone lines. Talking Heads. Talking Heads.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Go
Good
ahead.
afternoon.
The next two weeks or so, all the things coming up. You can see why they closed Parliament up, because they want to debate on what's going to be going on in the next couple of weeks coming up. You all have any information on those voter cards what they allegedly found with that guy?
The allegations are swirling that, according to the reports that are out there and the allegations, allegedly the driver of
well, we haven't
certain person,
of an MP was found
we haven't
with an inordinate amount of voters' cards.
Exactly. And I just heard something about someone from National Insurance got found with some voters' cards too. You understand? I ain't even hearing nothing about this from the police. Nobody. You understand? So we gotta we need y'all right now. Whatever you all hearing out there at this time period right now, you all gotta explain to the people and let us know what's going on in this country. Because a lot of things could be coming down the pipeline these next couple of weeks right before election. And there's no way that we can question the government if they are not the government anymore. You understand? We have to put their foot to the fire and see what really happened and what's going on in this country. A lot of things coming down the pipeline shortly. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you very much, caller.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that, you know, we're going to find some things. We're also going to hear some things that are absolutely not true. But there will be some questions about things that may slip through the cracks just because of the season that we're in. I think that this reporting out in today's Tribune about this PPP deal that just fell apart, the $25 million financing default, and one of the main drivers of it falling apart is the government failing to pay rent, is amazing. And I think that it's something that every Bahamian should have a look at.
One thing about this administration, they don't like to pay bills.
Yeah, I mean,
you always left foot in the bill for them one way, shape, or form, and they refuse to pay.
I would say that they have been kind of delinquent in the colloquial sense, very delinquent in the timing of paying a lot of these bills, and then we're not getting an explanation. You know, the Ministry of Finance, we've heard so many stories, you know, the doctors, NHI being paid late. And now we're hearing about this PPP deal that fell apart because they weren't making the rent payments. I mean, this is a lot, especially when this was not presented to us as debt, but just quietly added to the books as another $34 million in expenses for taxpayers. We haven't heard any explanation out of the Ministry of Finance on why this happened, why it was allowed to happen. So, yeah, there are going to be things that we probably need to highlight, but there will be things that slip through the cracks just because of the season that we're in.
So let's pivot to some other things. Last night, we saw the F&M deliver their manifesto over the weekend. We saw the blueprint for progress that was announced, but that kind of fell flat. The PRP's blueprint for progress kind of fell flat in my book. I didn't see anything new. I saw a lot of promises that they made the last go around that if you look at haven't been delivered on.
We haven't seen the promises yet because the blueprint, unless it's dropped, someone text us in and let us know. We were told that, the blueprint for progress is here. I think we saw someone hold up a book, but it has not been made available, and it's not online for me to easily access. And there is a bit of irony there in the PLP having that big launch, announcing it, but no production of the actual blueprint for progress.
It reminded me of the Grand Lucayan Center.
How do you allow this to happen? You're already being accused of constantly saying, we can do this, we can do that, and not following through. And then you say, here's the blueprint for progress, but nobody can access it because you didn't follow through and actually make it available for us. This is like, you can't write the irony any better than that. But as for the Free National Movement, who did release their manifesto last night, let me just say, and this is just pure aesthetics, I think that is one of the most beautifully designed. Did you see the cover of the Free National Movement's manifesto? That's local Bahamian talent. That's artist Al Pacino Wallace. And I just have to congratulate him because that piece of artwork that's on the front of that manifesto is so absolutely beautiful and indicative of all that we can achieve as talented Bahamians. And when we let our talent shine, that I think he absolutely needs to be applauded for that. That is a beautiful manifesto. And then we could talk about what's actually inside of it.
I thought that was off the chain presentation from Al Pacino as well, too. Shout out Al Pacino Wallace, man, one of our premier artists in the country. I love the murals, what he does throughout, the country on buildings that brightens up spaces. And I think it was well. I mean, obviously, you carry Mr. Pintard hard for being a creative. Obviously, he's embracing creatives and letting them know there's a platform within the F&M. And so much so that they're going to use you for the cover of our
whoever
manifesto.
Came up with that design idea, they need kudos because it's a beautiful, we can get to the substance of it, but the style of it is absolutely beautiful. There's no denying that.
And when we talk about the F&M's manifesto, you could see that there was definitely, a complete opposite from the last F&M administration. There's a lot of different ideas, a lot of fresh ideas, which I think works for the country. And I think that the F&M has taken time and considered what the nation is up against. And I think some of the things that they plan to implement, if they become the next government, will help the country get to where it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, all of the parties, this is their moment now to tell us their ideas, tell us where they plan to take us, and to put it in writing so that we who don't have time to be watching rallies or every little event, so we can look at it.
F&M on record, Freedom of Information Act in 90 days.
And that is actually achievable.
Day 89 if I don't see nothing. But
well, the reason I think that particular promise, if they follow through with it, the reason I think that that's achievable is that we will go to a budget in about June, right? And we've talked about this before, that one of the hindrances to us having an actual freedom of information isn't the law itself, because the act has been on the books now for years, but the funding. It's been underfunded for years. As a matter of fact, I think we've spent some $700,000 in the past 5 years just putting that, kind of mandatory $140,000, allocating that every time. But that is nowhere near sufficient in order for us to have a proper functioning freedom of information. When we had Matt Aubrey on the show, and I asked him how much, does he think it would take for us to get this thing started properly, he said around $1 million a year. So if we see that the government changes, if the Free National Movement becomes the government, and they allocate monies in that range, then we will know for sure that they are, much closer than past governments have been to actually seeing this thing through. Give us a clear indication. If they put their money, or in this case, the taxpayers' money, where their mouths are, then we will know that they have been serious about this particular issue that Bahamians have been crying for a long time. So it's absolutely achievable. It's not like they have to go write the laws and stuff like that. You know, the laws are there. They just need to fund it. So if they become the government, then they'll have to do the next budget and they will have to fund it because that is what they are promising.
Another thing that I saw that jumped out, and I liked it because I know that we need a lot of funding for various things. You know, sports is near and dear to me. Education is near and dear. I think the FNM's mention of a national lottery, I think is now time that we have this conversation. I think because, you know, proceeds from a national lottery could benefit the country in so many different platforms. It's crazy that we're not doing it.
Yes, I heard that. I saw some, because I looked at the manifesto, and I've heard some talk that they want this money. They want to go ahead with the national lottery. They want to target specifically educational and youth and sports and I guess maybe culture, in terms of recipients of whatever revenue we make as a country from a national lottery. And there's so much that's very interesting around this, right? Because someone sent me the Progressive Liberal Party's response to the Free National Movement's idea about this national lottery, and they're kind of calling it a gimmick and basically making a moral argument about, oh, you would need repeat players, but that is kind of rich with irony, right? And if we're being honest, hypocrisy, because it was a PLP government
that nation of spinners was created by these
actually went ahead, even though the Bahamian public voted no to regularizing gaming in this country. It's voted no to actually establishing a national lottery. It was the PLP government that took the actual votes of Bahamian people into an opinion poll and pushed forward gaming anyway. Now, if you have a moral stance against gaming, why would you do that? Why would you move to actually, legalize it, regularize it, if you have a moral stance against it? And what also is interesting is that when we did go to the polls to deal with gaming of this nature, numbers and so forth, the National Lottery got more support than web shops.
And both were shot down, correct? Both were shot down, correct? But the National Lottery
both were shot down. Both Bahamian people said, we don't want. But the lottery got more support than the web shops. What did they do? They ignored the lottery and they went ahead and regularized the web shops anyway. And so to see a response talking about, oh, people are going to lose and it's almost akin to, Bahamians being taken advantage of. But that's happening. If that's your stance, then you have to agree that is happening now anyway.
But how many lotteries around the world, whoever does the lotteries, those countries benefit from said national lotteries?
And this isn't
you
like
can see it in education, you can see it in athletics, you can see it in infrastructure, you can see it in healthcare. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own opinions about the lottery, but if we're just strictly, talking about the debate of the idea of it, the moral positioning of it, gaming doesn't exist in this country in theory. It actually exists. And not only does the government regulate it, it profits from it. It derives taxes from it. And then it takes those taxes and it puts it into programs. So the moral argument is completely lost, but there's also, a lot of hypocrisy in this whole idea that Bahamians would not benefit, because if you go down that road, then you have to explain why you think taxing it, the money goes into the consolidated fund, and we're going to think that you have Bahamians benefiting from that. That's happening anyway. So I don't get their position. I actually think from just a political point of view that they've been outmaneuvered on this particular issue. People seem to be supporting it because now they've already kind of normalized gambling in the country. So you're not going to be able to jump up on a high horse and say gambling is bad, because you are actually the party that normalized gambling in this country. And I think that people will view a national lottery differently, because they're going to look at the Bahamians benefiting way more than just a select group of persons who benefit from the way gaming is run in this country at the current moment. So I don't see how they win this particular argument. I think they've been outmaneuvered on this argument.
Yeah, they have.
So we're gonna hear some we're gonna hear some real hypocrisy. People tying themselves in knots to explain why it's okay for certain individuals, no less than candidates in their party, to benefit and profit from gaming, but a system designed specifically where education benefits, where sports benefits. Oh, that's wrong. It's okay to do it with private people who derive huge profits, but no, for the country to benefit from it directly, oh yeah, that's where we draw the line. It's crazy, and they've been outmaneuvered.
All right, let's get back to the phone lines. I think we got some calls. Let's get back to the phone lines. Talking Heads. Talking Heads.
Yes, hello.
Good afternoon, Seattle. What's happening?
Yeah, hey, what's happening? Sorry, I didn't hear you. Just a couple of points. You know, if I'm not mistaken, I think the expiration of the gaming protection is July of this year, or 3 months thereafter. I just wondered why the PLP didn't take a position on that. But the reason why you didn't hear about the blueprint for change, because they're still in the blueprint phase for the blueprint for whatever it is. They said that night that it would be released that night of that event, and it has not been released. Do you know who was the minister who signed the PPP for the who signed the PPP for the 8 Mile Rock building?
Who's the minister? Who signed it?
The Minister of Works, Mr. Brave Davis.
Minister of Finance, you mean?
No, the Minister of Works was the one who brought that to the table for the building.
So who was Works then? Was that Mr. Sears or Mr.
Mr. Brave Davis.
Brave. You mean the original? Okay,
Yeah.
You're taking us back to okay.
Yeah, when it was actually signed.
Yeah, when it was actually signed, right?
Argued.
One day before the elections. Okay, so Mr. Davis signed that. Okay, very interesting.
Right, and so
yes, he was Minister of Works.
he negotiated that, started negotiating that. He actually signed that in December of 2016, about 6 months before the election. But he was the one who negotiated it, and they went to the table a couple of times. I'm not going to mention the company names and stuff, right? But they were going back and forth with it before they done, because they also had to acquire the property because it was the old shopping center, et cetera, et cetera. But that was his portfolio that brought that into fruition, and Perry Christie thanked him and all this other stuff for shepherding it through and the whole thing. But another point, remember you said about, there was just 2 more points. Just remember what you said about the bills. Remember, September of last year, a number of us was telling you that the government is out of money. They have not been able to pay any bills, and so they've basically been shuffling the deck. And I kind of got a hint that they were getting this from the time when they brought up saying, let's legalize dope. That's predominantly what people do when they sell dope. So they had moved the whole thing. But just let me end in saying this, right? The problem with this concept of ideas, right? You know, I have a word for it. Like, I say ideas are like donkeys, right? Everybody has one, and that's the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the which. But the most important aspect of that is actually the how. Who would have the competence to execute it? And so that is where it comes into play. And so that ties right into promises being made. And it says a promise is a comfort to a fool, but a promise is only a comfort to a fool when the person making the promises does not have the ability nor the intent. Now, if the person who made the promise at the time, which showed you that government does have the ability, but we never could verify intent. So when they then make the promise to you and they don't keep it, that means they violated keeping both the promise and the intent, and they have called you a fool. And just look at 4.5 years. We've all been called fools. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm looking at the Tribune's report. It says that this particular deal that is now going to cost us some $34 million straight up was signed just 1 day before the May 10th, 2017 general election. That is crazy. That's a lot to take in.
Literally hours before the election, they still signing deals.
Right. And then when you see it fall apart in grandiose fashion, the way this one has, and it's now in front of the Supreme Court, and it's now on our books as $34 million in debt that the taxpayers have to account for. I mean, it raises so many questions. This particular PPP should alarm Bahamians because of the way that it has been presented to us in the past, and now getting the details because we're in court, and the facts have to come out in court. It's a lot. I would say to follow along on this, because it really makes you scratch your head and wonder what are they thinking, particularly since the reason that they're in court likely is that the government just didn't pay their bills, didn't pay the rent. I mean, just mind-boggling.
Again. Didn't pay a bill again.
Yeah, and it costs more, you know. And I said this even about the doctors and the NHI, that when doctors eventually get the payment from the, when they eventually get the payment from the government, it probably isn't even going to cover what it actually costs them. Because if they're depending on paying their bills on time, and, you know, a lot of places put in place late fees, and if they have, you know, any kind of debt associated with their business, they want to be able to pay that debt on time. When you take 2, 3, 4, 5 months to pay people what you actually owe them, you've probably incurred a greater expense for that person than they would have had normally had you just paid the bill on time. So I don't know why the government continues to be slow. I mean, we've heard some really creative reasons, you know, a glitch here and a PDF there. But I think that if you're, you know, serious about responsible governance, and then you understand, you know, what's at stake for the persons providing the service, then you don't operate that way. You try to be as efficient and on time as you possibly can, particularly when you are these many years in. You know, you can't blame it on just getting acclimated to a system. You've been doing this for a while. Pay the people, pay them on time. Otherwise, we end up with situations like this where the Bahamian taxpayer basically has to underwrite, you know, the risk.
This administration has suffered from a grand case of fumbleitis from day one. Whatever they fumble, they have. Whatever they could bungle, they have. And we, the Bahamian people, suffer for it, and it's crazy, and it needs to change. It can't be always we stuck foot in the bill, or we have an issue because people didn't perform. People didn't step up and perform their job.
Well, I mean, I will say this. We have the Free National Movement's manifesto. We've seen the COI's vision. I think that's been online for a while now. And the PLP promised us a blueprint for progress so that we can evaluate that too. I mean, I would like to be able to see everybody's plans so that when we talk about certain subjects, I can say to our listeners, okay, well, this one proposes this one proposes that, you know, so people could make informed decisions. But they did have a launch last week, and it is quite disappointing that we're almost a week since that launch and still no blueprint for progress accessible. I mean, that's not the way to run a campaign. At least I don't think. Not a successful one.
Got a very interesting text here. Naughty and MJ, they can't pay because cash is short.
Right. And we have seen them, because we're often told that a lot of this has to do with timing issues, right? So the government is revenue heavy on the last side of the budget, like in the latter quarters. And we've seen them do some things. I mean, they borrow from central bank when they need to. I think the last borrow was $290 million to address these short-term, you know, liquidity issues. But they do that, and then there's still a lot of stuff that's unpaid. You add 141 million or 120 million in arrears. I think we're up to like 243 million in unpaid arrears. But the things that you're supposed to prioritize, I mean, I want you to really think about it, particularly with this PPP. This isn't just, okay, they owe rent, they didn't pay the rent, that's it. This particular PPP is tied to investors. $25 million worth, and then another $9 million for a separate company out of Jamaica. I mean, this has real world consequences that are felt immediately and probably make investors very unsteady. And they've been told about these PPP deals. They've been told about this by the IMF. They've been told about this, I think, by Fitch, that also, you know, kind of pointed our attention that they needed to be careful with some of these PPPs. So they know the consequences of being late paying rent. They know the consequences of default. And yet still, it appears that that is exactly what happened in this case. And I would think that it wouldn't unless it was absolutely necessary. So it does raise questions about, you know, the liquidity, the way they time things, the way they organize things. And those could be answered, but nobody is speaking up to explain to us why these things are happening.
Hard market there, MJ. We got to get to the break. Couple of texts before we get in there. Naughty and MJ, they need at least $500 million to cover outstandings. PPP should pay for themselves. Check out the bridge PPP. All right, texters, we're going to get to the rest of your text on the flip side of the break. Call us, hang tight. We'll be coming to you on the flip side of the break.
I beg you,
Good right,
daily
got
to
it.
cease and still you keep talking.
It's the Free National Movement Fire Forward Rally, Nassau Southern Zone. Hear from Dr. Dwayne Sands, Bamboo Town, Darren Hinfield, South Beach, Denari Road, Pinewood, Orinthia Komalafi, Carmichael, Michael Folks, Golden Gates, Rick Fox, Garden Hill, Deputy Leader Shannon Dawn Cartwright, and Party Leader Michael Pentard. This Tuesday, April 14th, at Golden Gates World Outreach Ministries parking lot at 7:30 p.m. That's the Free National Movement Fire Forward Rally, Nassau Southern Zone. See you there.
Refined style with elegant taste, then fine threads is your place. If on those slacks hemmed or just taking the waist, then fine threads is your place. If you wanna look suave and debonair everywhere you go, like you're supposed to be in a video, wanna step out and look great, then fine threads is your place. Refined style with elegant taste, then fine threads is your place, is your place, is your place.
The Whopper with cheese at Burger King Nassau has never tasted so good. It's made with 100% flame grilled beef that's juicier, topped with fresh ingredients as usual, and even fluffier buns. Get a regular Whopper with cheese combo for only $9, including that, and enjoy a Whopper that's bigger, better, and tastier. The only place to get your Whopper with cheese combo is at Burger King Nassau, where it's grill time anytime.
It's the Free National Movement Fire Forward Rally, Nassau Southern. Hear from Dr. Dwayne Sands, Bamboo Town, Darren Hinfield, South Beach, Denari Road, Pinewood, Orinthia Komalafi, Carmichael, Michael Folks, Golden Gates, Rick Fox, Garden Hill, Deputy Leader Shannon Dawn Cartwright, Leader Michael Pentard. This Tuesday, April 14th, at Golden Gates World Outreach Ministries parking lot at 7:30 p.m. That's the Free National Movement Fire Forward Rally, Nassau Southern Zone. See you there.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
I say he that keepeth his mouth, you know, they shall belong.
We're back at you on the Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads. Naughty and MJ in your company right up until 6 p.m. Let's go to the phone lines. Lines are fully loaded. Let's jump into the callers. Talking Heads.
Hey, yeah. Pleasant good afternoon, Naughty. Good afternoon, MJ. I hope
Hey.
you're doing well.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Yeah, you know, Naughty, I don't usually listen to voice notes and whatnot, but my sister sent me one that was purportedly from Dame Joan Sawyer, who happens to be my first cousin. That's why she probably said it to me. And everything that was said in that, whether it's AI generated, is the Christ truth. You know, she said, how is it? And many people ask the same questions. With all of these fraudulent documents, passports, voters' cards, NIB cards, nobody is brought before the courts. Nobody is charged. And she said, Haiti, with all of its instability, they don't even have a government, all right? They are bringing people and putting them in jail for fraudulent documents. But we, with all our sophistication and everything else, have you seen anybody charged in the courts?
Well, we've seen persons charged. I think a gentleman was sentenced just the other day to a year in prison for fraudulent documents, and we're being told that
I am not talking about that. Those are the people. I'm talking about the people who are issuing this. The other day, when the man was charged for having the document, how was he able to do this? I mean, we don't go to force. You know, the other day when the man said that there's corruption straight across the board, and Wayne Monroe said, a man said that all of us are complicit, you know. But people know that. Listen, how did you get? If you bring before, how did you get this document, sir? How were you able to manufacture these things and go back to the source? We can't find out where these things
coming from. We can't find out where these guns are coming from. Okay, 355 guns that we take off the streets in a year in the past, and we can't tell where the source is. We can't find the source. We can't trace it back to the source so we can stop it. Come on, man. It speaks of some kind of corruption that is going on. All right? Our passport, and Fred Mitchell, who is in charge of foreign affairs, okay? That foreign affairs come under his portfolio. His head should have ruled, you know? Because our document, like you said, is being compromised. People have to now scrutinize. You hand them your birth certificate. They don't know whether it's false or fake, our passports. And nothing is... I haven't seen anybody with any of these ministries brought before the courts and charged and sent to jail for treason because they're selling us out. They're selling our document. They're profiting. I know people who say, "Oh, I know this one," and they got me straight. And oh, come on!
That's the problem. We've been buying lunch for too long.
Just how this thing go. You get
you've been buying lunch.
$5,000. You pay. You could get this. You would get that. And you know it has to stop.
You made some valid points. We've been dealing with this situation for years. They've been buying lunch for years. We've been buying lunch for years. And buying lunch is now costing us. The chickens are coming home to roost. And not all of them are speaking English either. Let's go to the phone lines. Talking Heads. Talking Heads. Let's go to the next call. Talking Heads.
Okay, slow down. This is the fellas who are in the let you out.
Hello. Talking Heads.
Hey, Naughty.
Hey,
Hey,
how are you? Good afternoon.
You know, what I wanted to add to what the gentleman was saying, I don't know if you remember, Naughty, back when the minister, Bernard Norris, was at National Security. Remember when he said that a lot of the firearms taken off the street were found to be back on the street? So what he did is he went, when they had a stock, he had to go with them to where they destroy them and watch them be destroyed. So how do we know that the passports that are being taken away aren't finding their way back onto the streets? Just thought I should put that out there.
No, I mean, we need to, but again, with no Freedom of Information Act, with no kind of record keeping, all of this goes astray.
Exactly. So
there should
even
be
with
an
the firearms and stuff, how do we know? How do we know that the stuff taken off the streets are staying off the streets? How do we know? You know, it's,
well, here's the suggestion of how it stays off the street, caller.
We in the Bahamas, such a secrecy thing going on where we don't like nobody to know what we doing, from who doing what, and because why we want to finger pointing, and come on, man, we have to say something.
All right, good
Yeah,
points.
I think-
we got to get to the other calls, but
I
real
think
quick,
it is communication. I would think that and I have faith and confidence that passports and so forth that are, subject to
but
confiscation
MJ,
by
I
the
mean,
police.
at the beginning of the
I
year,
feel they are destroyed. I would think that is what happens. I don't have any doubts about that. But about the communication and the lack of even apprising us of what the situation is, that is definitely, that's a choice by this administration to not
but
tell us.
I think there's remedies in play that could be put in place ahead of time before we get to this. Real simple. It's called inventory.
And accountability. I'm sure they have that, and just and transparency with the public. Just update us. Let us know.
If you start off the year with 10,000 passports in stock, then you know that you have to have an inventory for where they went. And why don't we have 10,000? Why do we have 9,500? Where the 500 going?
Yeah, I'm sure. And I don't need the granular accounting from every department. We have to trust our institutions. We have to design them where they can be trustworthy. Of course, you trust, but you verify. That's why we have audit systems. But my point is that they don't communicate to the public. Would you have thought that there were maybe 250 potential cases out there that involved fraudulent IDs, and that there are the 90 cases active now, and maybe 30 people before the courts? We weren't told any of this. These things had to be, exposed, particularly after the leader of the opposition spoke about it. But leave it up to the government right now. They're not saying anything. And sometimes even just speaking about it serves as a warning to people to let them know, listen, we on watch, we on guard. You come around here with your fake documents trying to swing us, don't worry, you will be caught because we hip to the game. But they say very little.
All right, let's get this call in. Then we'll get to the break. News is coming up. After the news, we'll get to the other calls. We'll get to the other texts. Just keep the texts coming. I'll get to all of them in the 5 o'clock hour. We will go over a little bit, and we will talk sports. So keep it right where you got it, all right? But let's get to the phone lines right now. Talking Heads.
Naughty and MJ, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jeff. What's going on?
Boy, my brother and sister, everything is great. Let me tell you right now, this upcoming general election, let me tell you something. All eyes, basically, the ones who are patriots, the ones who are nationalists, they're watching, and we are watching this whole scene unfold in front of us. This immigration matter, these passports, persons now are being very succinct about watching the movements within these governmental agencies with responsibility for these two areas. I'm going to tell you, this election is going to be very, very critical to whether we advance our systems forward or whether we remain where we are at this particular time. It's too much skullduggery, too much suspect of malfeasance. We have too many things that we have to consider. I mean, going into a general election, man, the Bahamian people's minds should be at ease, that all the T's and I's crossed, dotted, and the process would be as transparent and fluid as possible. But now with all these suspicions swirling, how are we supposed to feel confident about the outcome of this upcoming election? That is up in the air, and people right now on the streets are talking about this crazy. Immigration being the crucial point, especially the illegal migration and these passports. This is the big talks on the streets. And I'm hoping that our people are taking this thing serious. Now talking about the other big word, the national security. What is going on in our country? We have to fix this problem going into the election. 2 points very quickly, Naughty, after that. And then
we got to get to the break, so make them quick, Jeff. Make them quick. You got to get to the break.
Taxi plates being given out right now before the general election. What is that? What is with that as well?
More taxi plates given out,
and people are talking. My last point is this. I'm hoping that whoever is responsible for the roads, on Prince George Wharf, heading west towards Frederick Street, there is a large pothole there where persons have hit that pothole. It's a cut in the road, and people have been losing tires after last night in that hole. I'm hoping that the relevant authorities is listening, and they need to get that hole fixed.
Good stuff, Jeff. We appreciate you as always. Let's get to the news. Flip side of the news, MJ and I will continue the Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads, which will continue right after this.
Don't believe you're wicked. You tell me, woman, tell me you have another lady.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, streaming on GuardianTalkRadio.com and the Guardian Radio app, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is the Guardian News Network update on the hour. Prime Minister Philip Davis is accusing Free National Movement leaders of running a dirty campaign. He told supporters the FNM knows it's the only way they can win because they lack a track record to run on or ideas to keep the country moving forward.
The FNM are desperate for power, and they will say anything to get it. They've already started their campaign of saying the nastiest, most abusive things about us, and particularly me. We will not get down in the mud with them. That will not bring about progress for the Bahamas.
Well, over the weekend, Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard hammered away at the Davis administration's response to immigration matters is becoming a key talking point for the opposition during this campaign. Pintard told supporters his government failed to crack down on the proliferation of fraudulently obtained passports and overstaying visitors until the matter could no longer be ignored.
This is the same Prime Minister who looked the Bahamians in the eyes and said there was no immigration crisis, that there was no systematic failure as it relates to fraudulent documents. The Prime Minister was more angry at those that raised the alarm than those that caused the alarm.
He promised that an F&M government would introduce tougher penalties for immigration offences and would launch a national audit of public and private land occupation to remove unauthorised communities faster. And an American man has been arrested for trying to cash a fraudulent slot machine ticket valued at $11,600 at a hotel casino on Paradise Island. Police say they were notified by a casino employee that it was not a legitimate ticket. The 41-year-old man reportedly told police he won the ticket gambling and only learned it was fraudulent when he attempted to cash it. He is said to be cooperating with that police investigation. That's what's making headlines at this hour. AP Update is next.
Monday, April 13th, Grand Bahama. Join the PLP. Meet us in West End at 7:30 p.m. for a rally for progress. Hear from Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis, Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper, and your Grand Bahama team, including Ginger Moxie, Dr. Monique Pratt, and Iwan, Paco O'Neill, and Kingsley Smith Jr. This is about the future of Grand Bahama and the opportunities ahead. Bring your family, bring your voice. Come, stand with us. Monday, April 13th, 7:30 p.m. West End, Grand Bahama. Choose progress.
Loss of family members is very isolating, and people who have experienced loss appreciate when others have shared their grief. If you can't be there in person, go to the Nassau Guardian's website online at thenassauguardian.com and visit our obituary link. The Nassau Guardian's interactive obituary link allows you to read the funeral announcement, express condolences, or place photos on the online guest book for 1 full year. Losing a loved one is painful, but that pain isn't the worst thing to happen. Friends, colleagues, and neighbors who ignore the loss compound the pain. Should the bereaved family wish to place the obituary and photos on our obituary site, just contact the Guardian's funeral industry partners or the Nassau Guardian. Remember, there isn't one magic right thing to experiencing loss that will make the loss less painful or easier to bear. The Nassau Guardian's obituary link, available online at thenassauguardian.com.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished higher. The Dow up 301 points. Oil prices are higher after no deal was reached with Iran. President Trump has imposed a blockade on Iranian ports to try to force Tehran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. The president was asked what happens when the ceasefire agreement runs out if there is no deal.
Yeah, I don't want to comment on that, but it won't be pleasant for them. Let me put it that way.
The president was asked if oil companies will be able to send their tankers through the Strait of Hormuz during the blockade.
Yeah, I think they're going to be doing very well there, and I think they're doing very well here. You know, a lot of tankers are coming up here. They're coming in empty and out full. And we have a great capacity to take care of that business.
The president warned on social media any Iranian warships that come anywhere close to the U.S. blockade will be destroyed. Meantime, the Israeli military is pushing ahead with its air and ground offensive in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah. I'm Ed Donahue.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM.
You're listening to Talking Heads with Naughty and Mary Jane. Only on Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Now say he that keepeth his mouth, you know, they shall belong.
We're back at you on the Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads. Naughty and MJ and your company right up until 6 p.m. We're into the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to, wrap up a few topics we started in the 4 o'clock hour, and we will talk sports this hour. But right now, let's get to the phone lines. Talking Heads.
Hey, what's happening? How y'all doing, Naughty?
Good afternoon. How are you, bro?
Good afternoon.
Good. Listen, I like to try to be fair, right? But I was passing on a certain road in a certain constituency, and all I see is lampposts with red wrapped around it, right? And I was told that those persons a notice was sent out by the power company telling them that they should not do that, and they were told not to do it.
Well, caller, let's keep it 100. I could, for every red lamppost, I could match 10 with blue, twice more on them. So
not,
let's be
not with a cord wrap around it, Naughty. Let's be real now.
Excuse me, I could show you with the metal ties. I could show you with the metal staples. Now, see, the letters came out already.
Lord.
Hold on.
All right, bro. All right, I got you.
No. If you're going to keep it 100, keep it 100. A message came out last week telling all parties to cease and desist from the telephone poles, with the staples, with the wire ties, with the zip ties, all of that. It was put out ahead of time.
Yeah, I saw.
If you're going to call it 100. Don't come with half a story.
No, I've seen.
For every red lamp pole you could find, I could find a multitude with blue on it. So don't try to condone. If both are wrong, then both are wrong. Listen, you know what I'm waiting for, to be honest with you, caller? There was a campaign that I did with Eric and Ed years ago when we unified all the morning shows. And shout out to Eric Ward, man. Big up to Eric Ward. Eric, I ain't talked to you in a while, but, appreciate everything you've done for me in my career. Everybody know me and Ed's relationship go way back. Shout out to Ed. But it was called Yuck 'em Up and Pull 'em Down. Because too many parties go, and months after, years after the election, signs are still up. So trust me, wait till after this election. On the 13th, we starting Yuck 'em Up and Yuck 'em Down.
Yeah, I think both of the major parties. I have not seen much of this from the COI necessarily, but I think both of the major parties are definitely guilty of what BPL spoke to in that letter about putting their election paraphernalia on the power polls. And I would hope that, they heed what BPL is saying. There are even some, if you look in the Fort Charlotte area, there are some with the like it's way up top by where the wires are. It's crazy. There's a lot that was said in that letter, and I hope that the political parties are paying attention. Do not put your stuff on the power poles or the lights, because they're telling you that it's not only, I guess, an offense, but it's also very dangerous. So let's see if they take some of them down, put them in more appropriate positions, and just do better moving forward.
My thing about it is, keep it 100 though. It's not just one color. It's a multitude of colors out there.
Yeah, it's not just the Free National Movement. It's both the Free National Movement and the Progressive Liberal Party. They've got their signs on those poles. I've seen both parties with a proliferation of their campaign paraphernalia on these poles that BPL is speaking to. But I haven't seen as much from the COI. But definitely the two major parties, yeah. That letter from BPL, I wasn't for just the red. It was for the red and the yellow, because both of them have done it extensively, it looks like.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Talking Heads.
Yeah, Naughty, how you doing, man? I got disconnected.
All right, because one thing we do on Talking Heads, I'm glad you called. We could agree to disagree, but I mean, I agree. Nobody hung up on you.
Yeah, I agree with the fact of the posters and so forth, but that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, the poles are literally wrapped with a red cloth around them, plus the posters are up. That's what I'm talking about. I have no problem with the person, doing what they're doing. And just to be fair, that's all I was talking about. The poles are actually wrapped with a red cloth.
Are you referring to the ribbons that are in Garden Hills that can be removed? That Rick Fox put the ribbon around the pole so it wouldn't damage the pole, and they could easily be removed post-election?
I've never seen that happen in the Bahamas yet, Rick. Honestly.
Well, this is the first time for everything, hey, caller.
if that's it, then
and that don't make it wrong.
He's probably seeing different variations of doing it, in the U.S.
If you go take a look, you'll understand. I don't think you all saw it. Let somebody send you all a picture, man.
No. I had somebody send it to me today with pictures. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I haven't seen it. Send me the picture. I haven't seen it.
It's like a red cloth about 8 feet up on the pole from the bottom down, wrapped around the pole. That's what I'm talking about. I have no problem with the paraphernalia and all that other stuff. Just that. That's what I'm talking about.
I think BPL is talking about all of it, though.
Colin, let me ask you: do you have an issue with Rick Fox? Did he cost you money when he played for the Lakers or championships, or you just got an issue with red ribbons?
That's a joke. I think what BPL is speaking to, both major parties are guilty of that. I have seen some signs, and even I have said, wow, that sign is pretty high up there next to the wires, and then I worry about the campaign helpers that have to go climbing these poles, putting some of these signs up so high. But yeah, everyone's on notice now. The BPL, they ain't on y'all run with that. Please stop doing it, because it's not really allowed without
right,
permission.
MJ.
They did give some room, though. They said without permission. So
Right. That's true. The key is without permission. Now, who gets the permission and who don't get the permission?
yeah, because you would have to probably explain to them what you plan to do, and then they can decide whether that
Correct.
would be a safety hazard or not. So everyone needs to
All right.
follow that.
Buckle up, MJ. We got text, a multitude of them, but going in. Here we go. Naughty and MJ, I text this to you all on Friday. The rapper that passed away, I glimpsed him on YouTube. I cannot spell his name. That's who passed, but true, he had some dope music. Africa Bombada, text her
Yeah.
for sure. Naughty and MJ crowd size doesn't mean a thing. All people just like to party, drink rum, and carry on.
What? You don't say.
Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Remember in 2017, the PRP had a mass rally, and the PRP only won one seat in Nassau. Minutes won the election, so you really can't mind those rallies.
Yeah.
Good
no.
afternoon. What are you guys hearing about the budget surplus? Is there still one?
I think.
Oh gosh.
I think if you listen to a Chicago Line show, I think the word mirage was used. I think it's pretty safe to say at this point, a budget surplus on paper is not going to match our reality. I don't even think that's happening. So yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath, Texter, for $75 million surplus, because if it exists on paper, it is a mirage. And I think that's quite clear based on a lot of these stories we've been hearing about, what the government actually owes.
Good afternoon. Naughty and MJ, the government will pay at the Obi Roche complex. Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. How do we get answer to these many questions instead of waiting until we get in power? Well, if we had a Freedom of Information Act, a Procurement Act, a Campaign Financing Reform Act, so on and so forth, we would be able to get answers to these questions.
And a public accounts committee with
Correct.
teeth, where the AG doesn't tell civil servants you don't have to respond. I mean, there are many things that we can do, but the point is that a lot of times our leaders do not follow through, and so we get nowhere.
Well, good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. I never knew about that being signed one day before Election Day in 2017. Thank you, Naughty and MJ. Well, actually, MJ for informing us, not you, Naughty.
Actually,
this can only be somebody who knows us.
No, that's actually the Tribune that reported it out, so I'll give them the props for that. But it is amazing because now we're in court. Now I say we, because when people sue the government and the government has to kind of settle these things, it's really taxpayer money. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Keep up the good work. You all keep informing us what all these government people are doing, because I don't read the paper daily, honestly. Thank God for you all making me think about my vote for sure. Who is and what is running this country? Yeah, Naughty and MJ, good show. Rest in peace to the one man, LH. Yeah, shout out to the Harrison family.
Rest
to
in
LH.
peace.
Listen, one thing I always liked is me and LH could talk to each other, stink over sports and politics and Junkanoo, and still be friends. Because we remember each other from growing up playing around the Prairie and West Street and Baintown and playing ball, and him and Gold as teenagers, in the Mustang around the place. So that never got lost in the shuffle. It was always like big bro to little bro, and I would read you back up, and he'd read me. And if we didn't have a boisterous, lively conversation, something was wrong. He'd ask me if I was sick, or I'd ask him if he was okay, But at the end of the day, I will say this: regardless of what you thought of LH, I do respect him for one thing. He had that Bahamian vibe of, I go ride for who I believe in. And that was his PLP. And you could never, that's who he was. And people need to be respected for who they are, whether you agree with him or you don't agree with him, because he did a lot of good that a lot of people don't know about. So I will say RIP to my brethren, LH, from that time. And my thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. And it is a big loss to the PLP, because you need more PLPs like LH who ain't afraid to stand up and talk to the leader or the chairman and tell them what they're doing wrong.
Yeah,
Again,
that's true.
We lost another one with backbone and bollocks. I hate to say it. Naughty, I'm on Tanique Darling Highway, and there are about 12 young people on the sidewalks, all in PLP shirts and hats. Is this a special project by the PLP? Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. MJ, can you talk about the amount of voters cards that are out there and how people who are not naturalized in the country can get voters cards? How could Mr. Bastian close a road and the Ministry of Works did not advise the public?
He closed a road?
Over the weekend, the road that was shaved down in the Chippenham area.
Honestly, I don't even know. I know that he's been given like prominence on the PLP, their platform and in this campaign. So maybe he's able to just do it like that. I don't know.
I'll go out there and say, Chester Cooper, DPM, use my boy. Watch over your left shoulder, watch over your right shoulder, higher eyes to be in the back of your head. But trust me. Yeah, trust me. Keep an eye on that. Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. NHIA providers are still 2 months behind, and now NHIA is taking out fees for being a part of the NHIA program. So the money late and short, fun times on the way. Naughty and MJ, one more thing. Did you see a MP's driver from Baintown had 300 passports in his possession, allegedly? Please investigate this. Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Looks like for the blueprint for progress to get printed, they need to ask the passport fraudsters.
Oh, whoa.
They're
You guys are really on one today. Oh, wow.
Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Does the opposition have a track record? How could our opposition have a track record and they're not responsible for the country? But the PM said they don't have a track record. Is he delusional? Yes, they don't have a track record until given the opportunity for one. And I'll just say delulu with no salulu to the second part of that question.
I don't understand that framing of it, because when you start talking about track record, you're talking about the party, right? And I think the Free National Movement has a very long track record. You know, the Ingram administration was a 15-year administration, so they certainly do have a track record. You know what I mean? I mean, they are now under new leadership. Mr. Pintard is the leader of the Free National Movement, and he's presenting the plans that he thinks will push the country forward. And he's not an unknown. It's not like he, is just a newcomer, a neophyte when it comes to politics. He has a track record as the Minister of Agriculture. I think he was in youth, sports, and culture before as well. So it's not a blank slate. Like we kind of know who we're dealing with, because we're not just dealing with individuals, we're dealing with the parties themselves as well.
All right, good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Tell that PLP caller, tell BPL go remove the damn red cross themselves. Naughty, BPL is getting even because of the Port Authority.
What? Speaking of BPL, I mean, I don't know, but I've been, and some persons have sent me some notes. Does anybody know what the current status is with the company that was subcontracted by Island Grid with the Pike Company? I know that they had a tragedy in their ranks when one of their own lost his life a couple of weeks ago. But I'm hearing that maybe some of their workers are still out of the country. Do we have the full complement that we need because they're responsible for the grid?
Hold on, I'm allegedly hearing all the trucks are parked up and all the workers gone.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they may have taken a sabbatical.
Somebody needs to get us some information on that.
It is traumatic, but if something else is happening, that of course will have serious consequences for us and the way that the grid is managed. I think that we should be told sooner rather than later.
Listen, when I talk about rare form today, MJ, buckle up. Here we go. Naughty and MJ from SC McPherson to the Independence Roundabout has a sea of red poles reminding everyone who to vote for and not to hit a damn telephone pole. The F&M party ready for a clean sleep. They are diversely ready. And the PLP's blue signs will only make you nod off and buck up into the poles late at night.
I got to see these red cloths people are talking about. I mean,
all I'm saying is Red Fox got their waters running every way, shape, and form. Flash flood.
I gotta see it, because if BPL is saying that anything on the polls presents a hazard, then that applies to everything on the polls, unless I guess they give permission for it. But I wonder if this is something truly, out of step and
Boy,
egregious, or if it's just a new idea that they didn't think of, and now they're like, oh boy, we gotta
buckle up,
get
MJ.
this down.
Here we go again, only on Talking Heads. Naughty and MJ, I work on that Blue Road area, and the red cloth is on the lamppost. And my PLP co-worker who called in, who is of Haitian descent, is complaining about it. Last couple of weeks when the PLP was putting up their billboards, he was loving it, saying brave or nothing. Now the red cloth got him dizzy and he called in talk shows and complaining. Wow.
This is where we're at right now. This is the season we're in.
Poll man and poster boy. You're fire getting pulled today, boy.
I mean, this is the point we're at. I don't think anyone is surprised that it's coming down to these levels of petty. This is, wow. It's
Good
a lot.
afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Why is Sabah speaking like he is the Minister of Housing? Why is Keith Bell isn't speaking on housing and he is the Minister of Housing? Every PLP government minister spoke about the ministry except Keith Bell.
That would be a great question for Mr. Bell. I don't know why Mr. Bastian is, unless he knows of plans that they have. But he did say something that was interesting. He went at the Free National Movement's plan to put up 5,000 houses over 5 years, and he attacked it from the perspective of numbers, I guess implying that it's not possible. But I looked at the numbers, and I was able to listen to Zhivago earlier today, and this is not unheard of. Like, we have had periods in our history, particularly during the Hubert Ingram, Mr. Ingram, our former prime minister, his term from 2002 to 2007, where in excess of 5,000 homes were built. So it's not something that's physically impossible. And I think that kind of puts water on his talking point about, it'll be a month and this much of it. I mean, it's been done. So to attack it from that perspective, it makes absolutely no sense, because if you have the right conditions, if you have the right financing, and if you have a determined government, it is absolutely possible to get that done. I thought that the more interesting headline about the two main parties and their position on housing is that they both seem to be leaning towards this idea about a real estate investment trust. The Free National Movement explicitly put that in their manifesto. We don't have the blueprint for progress, so we don't know how they intend to execute on it. But that idea seems to be a commonality between the two parties. And so if they want to debate on how that should be set up. That was originally an idea from Mr. Gowenbo, which I think was an excellent idea, and now one that both parties are embracing. And maybe the fundamentals around how they plan to execute that needs to be debated, but just writing it off and saying, they can't get it done, that makes no sense, because historically we have gotten it done in this country. And I think the numbers are also really interesting. Both have this idea about an investment fund. One is saying we'll get 300 houses done, and the other said, no, we're going to be much more aggressive. We can get 5,000 houses done. And so now it's kind of like a game of catch up, because the number put forward by the Free National Movement is much larger and probably much more impactful. And so you attack it as being unrealistic. But the problem with that is that if you check the history, it has been done in this country. So it makes no sense to attack it from that perspective.
Let's get to the phone lines. Talking Heads.
Hello.
Talking Heads.
Hi. Naughty, MJ, hope all is well.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So listen, I have a quick tidbit to add in, and it's on immigration, and it's for the day of election. And you had a caller today suggested it, and then there was another caller, a male on Global, that suggested it. Do you think it makes sense to have immigration present at every polling division, along with the police?
Okay, so the police, sure, because we need, and this is just my thoughts on it, just off the top of my head. The police, sure, because you do want order on that day. We don't need chaos. I mean, we get one shot to get it right. And so the police presence, I think, is absolutely warranted. It's needed, and it's a part of a good election process. Immigration, I got to think about that a little bit because you don't want you don't want you don't want it to be an overly intimidating environment for legitimate Bahamians and registered and persons that are registered to vote and legally entitled to vote. So you don't want it to be overly aggressive, but I guess it'll be something that they consider. I don't think that the immigration necessary, but the police officers certainly that makes a lot of sense. Their presence would for me.
The way I see it, I agree with the police being there because you want it to be a peaceful process. You don't want anybody taking anything into their own hands as far as if they have any doubts about the legality of other persons voting. And I think with the unrest as far as immigration goes in this country right now, and it's a hot topic situation, maybe we should have some immigration officers there as well, too.
I think that the police are sufficient to, if someone is there, if they're breaking the law in some way, then the police, that'll be the first point of contact, I think, when you're dealing with an election circumstance to handle that. And then if they need to be turned over to any other relevant authorities, I think that makes sense then. So I said, I'm quite fine with the police. I have no problems with that. As a matter of fact, I expect to see them there, right? Fulfilling their duties and doing, the work that we expect them to do and at the high level that we expect them to perform it at. Immigration, I'm not so sure about their place in this particular process. I know the line of thought that is kind of inspiring Bahamians to feel like this is necessary. But remember now, elections are for Bahamians, right? For citizens. That's who should be voting in these elections. If there are any irregularities or any points of concern, then I think that the Royal Bahamas Police Force should be the first point of contact to resolve those issues on that day. And if immigration needs to be brought in for anything subsequently, then that's the point that they should be brought in. But to have them be at the election sites, that is not traditional. That is different. And you just want the process to be
but
not
this isn't a
intimidating.
tradition, Jay. We have red ribbon on the polls.
Yeah, and that's a big problem, apparently. I have to see. Can you send me the picture when we go on break so I can see it?
Let me get these texts in rapid fire, and then we'll get to the break. Flip side of the break, we'll pick it up. And listen, we got a touchy topic to talk about on the flip side of the break, and I want to hear everybody's opinion on it. All right, all right. So let's get to these texts. Let me get these out of the way. Naughty BPI has left the island.
I think they mean Pike, maybe.
Pike, I mean. Hey, Naughty, why is... Okay, got that one already. Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Is the PPP $34 million debt a part of our $250 million of unpaid government debt? Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Why was the election called so early? Naughty, Pike has left the country. Yes, Naughty and MJ, the Pike workers did leave the country after their co-worker was killed, and the government is silent on this. If the posting of signs on the poles is a hazard period, then why BPL has to give permission?
Yeah, no. That's a great question, but apparently they'll approve some. I don't know, guys. I'm just as lost as you are on that. Either it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. But hey, they say they could give permission. I don't know.
Can't believe the incoming PM put Brave and his boys in one catch. Sabas and crew, they think they're holding the stamp for lottery when everyone agrees for a national lottery from the F&M feedback, except for those in the PLP camp who says only Sabas can build houses. Question mark. We need immigration buses at all 49 stations. Hey, Naughty, why do you need almost a dozen Greyhound buses driving around in one constituency campaigning? They likely didn't get paid. I said that from the start. This group was incapable of reforming BPL. It was clear they were after the revenue. I've never heard of an infrastructure project requiring heavy upfront investment, bragging about all the money they made 6 months after starting. It's unheard of. It takes years to turn a profit. And then we find out they have a deal to get paid whether or not the government earns any revenue, guaranteed profits. Immigration will deter illegal voters. They won't try voting. I do not understand if someone was found with a bag of government documents, voters' cards, or passport, why hasn't the commissioner called an emergency press conference? This is earth-shattering and silence, and nothing but silence. Good day, Naughty and MJ. Legitimate Bahamians will not be intimidated by immigration officers. Bring both the police and immigration. If you allow the police, then they are They're for legal Bahamians because if anything look off, we will go off. So to comfort everybody, we should have both there. Last one before the break. Great show, Naughty and MJ. I don't have a problem with immigration at the post because if you are straight, you have nothing to fear. Quick break, flip side of the break. And MJ and I will be right back. And boy, my COI and PLP friends, y'all don't want to miss this, boy. This one can get juicy for y'all. Keep it right where you got it. Talking Heads continues right after this.
KFC, got that crispy onions crunch, take a bite, it's a smile. Sweet onion sauce drip, happy running down my side. Pepper jack cheese, bring a little playful wow. Brioche bun soft like a cloud on this ride. KFC, get chicky with it, hey. Taste the sweet side of things. Every single bite, so lit it. Got my whole crew doing that thing. Crispy onion, sweet onion sauce, pepper jack cheese, going on.
Introducing the new Sweet Chicky Chicken Sandwich at KFC.
Let's get chicky with it.
This is definitely the time for BAMSI to continue to build on the progress that we've made. There's now drone technology. There's now year-round container farming. You have hydroponics. You have aquaponics. You have precision farming. There have been record numbers of enrollments, record numbers of flat fishing certifications. We've had record enrollments in our online courses. Students from across the family of islands. Because in BAMSI, we are not just cultivating produce, we're cultivating producers.
John Shoes and Accessories is your one-stop shop for all your footwear needs. You will find what you're looking for among the growing collection of classic and trendy styles with new arrivals every week. John's covers the whole family and has great prices, helpful and friendly customer service. Your experience shopping with us will be time well spent. Shop with us online at www.johnshoes.com. John's also now carries small home appliances. So come on into John's, located on Rosetta Street in Palmdale and Carmichael Road West. John's, fashion at your feet.
Craving something bold, fresh, and unforgettable? Tropical Gyros is your flavor-packed escape, a Carib-Greek fusion born right here in Nassau. From juicy grilled chicken and pork gyros to loaded bowls, fresh salads, wings, and more, there's something for every craving. Find Tropical Gyros at any of their locations, JFK Plaza, Rosetta Street, Port Lucaya Freeport, or their franchise spots on Prince Charles Drive, Soldier Road West, Delaport, and Carmichael Road. Tropical Gyros, not just good food, it's an experience.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM.
Nice say eat that keep it his mouth, you know. They shall belong. I never ask you, nothing when you tell me. I beg you daily to cease and still you keep talking. Me tell me from your little baby, he that keep at his mouth shall stay out of problem.
On the Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads, Naughty and MJ and your company right up until 6 p.m. Lots to talk about. Lots and lots to talk about. All right, so here we go. I got the text lined up. We'll get to the text in a second. Phone lines are still open, so feel free to chime in. But MJ, I want to get to this because I don't want this to get to the back burner. Now, listen. I saw the COI, the deputy leader of the COI, Dr. MacGyver, accused the PLP's Minister of National Security, Wayne Monroe, of stealing the idea of mandatory migrant insurance plans. Now, the COI put the idea out on March 29th. Wayne Monroe put it out on April 8th. Now, let me just say this. After 27 years as a professional stand-up comedian, locally and internationally, I know a hawk when I see one. I could tell a hawk a mile away. And the two of y'all, Dr. MacGyver and Mr. Monroe, are hawking it up right now. Because on March 17th, 2 weeks before MacGyver and 3 weeks before Monroe, MJ put the idea out there. And MJ will put plenty of ideas out there, hoping people will see them as good ideas and grasp them to benefit the country. So nobody's mad that they're, using the idea. The point is, stop beating up your gum, accusing each other of teething when you teeth it from MJ.
Oh, I saw. Yeah, no,
And you know how I go with this. It is a comedian code. That is pure hack in my book.
I saw the. I saw the.
Yes. No, let me just say this. Yes. Teeth from teeth. Naughty can laugh and make noise. But that just shows the COI that your leader lacks vision and intellect because he stays piggybacking intellectual property from others, locally and globally. And now that annoying epidemic that he suffers from has now infected your deputy. Now Dr. MacGyver talking out the side of the neck just like Lincoln.
I saw this argument online and I thought it was strange because I think that when good ideas are out there or ideas that maybe could help the country are out there, then, unless it's like straight plagiarism, which is an entirely different category, or copyright infringement, which is an entirely different category, just this country should be a marketplace of ideas where people who have particularly, expertise in a particular area, if you're a fisherman and you have an idea about how we could approach our industries better, then put that idea out there and let's hope that our leaders pick it up and make it good policy. If you're a teacher and you have an idea, or just whatever field you're in, whatever it is that you do, if you have a good idea, put it out there. And hopefully, if the policymakers pick it up, then it'll be beneficial for the country if it is a good idea and if it can work. But I just don't understand quibbling because it wasn't even just this subject. There were other subjects where people are like, oh, they stole our idea for this. Oh, they took our idea for this. Oh, we said this first, right? And it was funny because the one with Dr. MacGyver and Mr. Monroe, she came with her receipts for him. I think we have that. So, Mr. Producer, let's play that short clip of what Dr. MacGyver alleged was the stealing of her idea by Mr. Monroe.
I have to deal with a major mind shift that I'm not thinking that most Bahamians, the majority of Bahamians, are prepared to do.
Mr. Producer, pause it for a second. It's the other clip, I think, with
No. Let me just double check with Mr. Producer so we can line that up. But at the end of the day, we'll get it right. March 17th was when we first said it. But when you first said it. But actually in December. Then on March 17th, and we got everything in order. Everything.
Well, okay, hold on. So the idea is that this is the idea. The idea is that, Bahamians talk a lot about migrants being a burden on our healthcare system. And so one of the ways that we can kind of alleviate some of that pressure is to introduce insurance when it comes to mandatory insurance, when it comes to their work permit or their permanent residencies. So I think, we initially talked about this. Dr. MacGyver says she put the idea out there on March 29th. Mr. Monroe then repeated a similar idea about migrant insurance and the government making a scheme if necessary. But the only problem that she has in accusing him is that we actually did put that idea out on the 7th, 2 weeks before Dr. MacGyver and 3 weeks before Mr. Monroe. So, Mr. Producer, you can play the clip that you were going to play just now. This is from Talking Heads, this show that everybody calls into and gives us great ideas on. This is from March 17th, where we first introduced this idea about the migrant insurance.
I have to deal with a major mind shift that I'm not thinking that most Bahamians, the majority of Bahamians, are prepared to do. And I think it's a good soundbite about immigration and so forth. But literally, look around. It's so integrated into us now that I feel personally it's going out of hand. It's out of hand.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think that there are things that we can do. I think that we could lobby for changes. I think we could make suggestions. one of the things I was thinking about when I was talking to someone who talked about, the strain on our resources, particularly when it comes to the hospital. Well, I looked at some other countries that have high immigrant populations. One of the things that they do is that they ensure that anyone that applies for a work permit for persons has mandatory health insurance, even if the government created a separate fund where they have to pay into, so that should a worker that they brought to the country that's dependent on them, should that worker become ill, it's not a burden per se to the taxpayers, but it's something that they have contributed to as well. And I know that a lot of employers that particularly bring in immigrants or get work permits are not going to be happy to hear that. But that is one solution that may help, ease the burden on the public healthcare system. So I think come up with solutions that can help our policymakers. I think that that's good as well. Yes, the situation is out of control, but it's not so out of control that we can't make certain changes that can make it better for all Bahamians. So I don't think Dr. McIver has to get bent out of shape. I don't know where she got the idea. I'm not making any accusations, but perhaps Mr. Monroe was maybe he's a talking head too. Maybe he was listening that day.
If you can't tell that it's Talking Heads talk show that other talk shows listen to, and obviously all the political parties.
The point is that we have so many smart callers, smart guests, and everyone wants to help this country be better and do things better so that we could, all thrive. So it doesn't matter to me. I think we can't get caught up on the side of, it was that idea was mine and this party stole it and that party stole it. If it's a good policy, then let's all say, hey, good, they're on board as well, because I do believe the Free National Movement is on board with the idea as well. Let's say that and then just make it happen, that'll be good for the country.
How about this one, MJ? Today is a hot show, man. All kind of stuff coming up today. Files being pulled. Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. I think the 5,000 homes are doable. And it's blatant for that individual who only built homes for the rich, upper class, and affluent, and kept them out of the reach of the masses, has the audacity to criticize housing in this country, especially when he's using speeches pertaining to building belong to an African politician.
What? What are we talking about? What?
Okay, wait a minute now. Hold on. And here's another text. Naughty, you and MJ talking about intellectual property. What about Sebastian, the African politician's speech on building? Send me the speech, please.
This is, So, like
Hold on, let me get these other texts in real quick.
All right, go ahead.
These people in PIP shirts and hats painting the median and sidewalks on Tanique Darling. This is the last thing we need. Okay, so...
They're painting the median? They're painting the...
And see? This is the hypocrisy of PLP supporters. You had that PLP supporter, which is his right to call in and said he has an issue in Garden Hills with the red ribbon being laid around the flagpoles 8 feet up and the sign being put there. Fine. But you don't have an issue with the median and sidewalks on Tanique Darling Williams Highway being painted? And if they're being painted in the PLP colors, who authorized this?
No, I wouldn't think that they're being painted in there. Perhaps they are campaign workers that, although when they start to get into things that should fall under, beaches and parks, I don't know, it starts to get a little bit tricky. But yeah, I wouldn't think they're painting it PLP colors. Maybe they're doing campaign work.
MJ, I got the speech. Let me get it to Mr. Producer. Mr. Producer, you got it lined up? No, we just... All right, so let's get to it. All right, thank you, Dexter. Naughty, listen to the first 20 seconds of the speech. All right, here we go. Let's listen to the first 20 or so. I don't think we have to do the whole clip, Mr. Producer, but let's see what we're working with right here. All right. Let's get to the break. Let's take a quick break right now. Flip side of the break, we'll be right back. We'll get that clip on for you. And, of course, MJ and I will wrap things up with talking sports as well, right before the top of the 6 o'clock hour.
Johnny Johnny's Restaurant can only be described as the experience you want to recreate again and again and again. Their motto is simple food done well. You're welcome into their home at Naughty Johnny's, where you can dine on crack conch fritters, and other Bahamian favorites. There's also an international flair that's guaranteed to offer something for everyone. Enjoy a good meal and listen to a live band on their patio Friday and Saturday nights, or brunch on Saturday and Sunday, only at Naughty Johnny's Restaurant in the Old Town Plaza, Old Fort. They're open 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Friday, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. on Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Sunday. Naughty Johnny's, well worth the trip.
For fast, reliable, and impactful printing services, look no further. Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life. We stand by our quality products that is second to none. Our affordable pricing and friendly, efficient staff makes Printmasters the ultimate choice for all your printing needs. We can deliver any type of printing services, from banners to booklets to business cards. You name it, we can print it.
Let Printmasters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
It's the Free National Movement Fire Forward Rally, Nassau Southern Zone. Hear from Dr. Dwayne Sands, Bamboo Town, Darren Hinfield, South Beach, Denari Road, Pinewood, Orinthia Komalafi, Carmichael, Michael Folks, Golden Gates, Rick Fox, Garden Hills, Deputy Leader Shannon Dawn Cartwright, and Party Leader Michael Pentard. This Tuesday, April 14th, at Golden Gates Rural Outreach Ministries parking lot at 7:30 p.m. That's the Free National Movement Fire Forward Rally, Nassau Southern Zone. See you there.
Put more money back in your pocket with the Fidelity Debt Consolidation Loan. Why pay more when you can pay less? Reduce your monthly debt payments down to one low, easy payment. Apply for a Fidelity Debt Consolidation Loan today. Call 356-7764.
Fidelity, we're good for you.
KFC got that crispy onions crunch. Take a bite, it's a smile. Sweet onion sauce drip, happy running down my side. Pepper jack cheese, bring a little playful wow. Brioche bun soft like a cloud on this ride. KFC, get chicken with it. Hey. Sweet side of things, every single bite so litty. Got my whole crew doing their thing. Crispy onion, sweet onion sauce, pepper jack cheese going on.
Introducing the new Sweet Chicky Chicken Sandwich at KFC.
Let's get chicky with it.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM.
I say he that keepeth his mouth, you know, they shall belong. I never ask you, nothing when you tell me. I beg you daily to cease and still you keep talking.
We're back at you on the Monday, April 13th edition of Talking Heads. Naughty and MJ and your company right up until 6 p.m. Down the home stretch we come. Let me get these texts in, a couple of these texts in, and then we'll jump right back into the convo. But, oh boy, here we go. And I always never got how we Bahamians just accept like intellectual property being removed. Like people just take your property. But again, that's me, just being a retired comedian. I know a hack from a mile away when I see one. However,
right. But I mean, when it comes to ideas, I don't put that in the same category at all. I mean, I think of course, politicians are going to look at it different because they have something to gain by saying, oh, this one took my idea. I mean, it'll get them political points if it's actual and factual and they can prove it. But I think that ideas are meant to be put out there, and I think good ones are meant to be made policy if it helps the country. So I don't get the big deal about it. Maybe they think they could score points with voters by saying this one thief my idea or whatever. But yeah, I don't see the big deal. We're going to get lots of ideas over the coming weeks. You know, no big deal.
Good afternoon, Naughty and MJ. Nothing wrong with parties taking other parties' ideas. People still vote who they want to vote for. Good afternoon. If it's a good idea for the country, please take it. You know how much great ideas I had people teeth? I honestly see what's the problem if you put it out there for the country. Man,
know,
some
right?
people are
We want
innovative
them to
but
take the
not
good
leaders.
ideas.
Let's just make our country better, please. Look at the big picture. And I do look
Yeah,
at the big
I
picture.
agree.
But I want a leader who has vision on his own or her own.
Well, no, I think it only gets tricky when you accuse someone else of doing it and you yourself may have done it. Now that's when it gets a little sticky for you. You know what I mean? But good, if you think the idea is good and you think it should be a part of your platform, then go ahead and do it. But I don't think we have to get into the weeds on this at all.
Okay, here we go. Boy, let me tell you. Why do these people in the idea for prison for illegal entry, mandatory health insurance for migrants, and school fees for migrant children goes back to the Alliance for Change in 2010. Then to the DNA in 2011, to the BNCP and the UDP in 2016. All borrowed from other developed countries where I experienced these things in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
The stealing of ideas is old. Many political leaders are bankrupt for good ideas because they're old. Obviously,
Maybe that
Texas.
is now.
Many of
Maybe
them are
there.
out to lunch.
Maybe there is, legitimate questions about whether or not the people we expect to lead us can generate great ideas and vision and things that will move the country forward. So maybe that's a legitimate conversation. But saying that, this guy took my idea and went on stage with it, it's strange. It's strange.
Good evening, Naughty and MJ. Tell COI, please stop it because they copied the DNA Vision 2012, 12 years later, and John Boswick's Vision 2020. MJ, you are being way too nice today. The BPL poll issue may just be political. Paco Deal is painting speed bumps yellow in Central Grand Bahama.
I know. Okay, send us the pictures for that because that is definitely egregious.
Mark, are you painting speed bumps to match your forehead?
What?
And your bald head? Wow.
You are so not nice.
I recall posting an idea in detail on social media. A year later, I heard an MP repeat the idea word for word when he was asked about new national security initiatives. I personally hate it when they do that. It is not true that anyone can come up with an idea.
No, it is not.
Put forward ideas is gifting. If they could do it, they would have. I am still trying to dance like Ciara. Unfortunately, unlike the minister, I can't fake it.
I get you. Trust me. If you hear an idea and they take it, they lift it word for word, bar for bar, then you might be a little peeved if they don't, give you credit for it. I get that. But I think that right now, we are trying to move the country forward. So, you would object, but if I put any ideas out there and they lift it and they take it, if it's a good idea and it can move the country forward, I'm not offended. Maybe I am being too nice today.
To make it, what plagiarism you don't say? Naughty play the clip. All right, I can get to it in 1 second. Let's keep it real. The medians are being painted white. I sweat myself. Stop pushing propaganda. Well, if the medians are being painted white, why do you have PLP supporters in T-shirts and allegedly teenagers painting the mediums white when that should be a Ministry of Works job?
That is a legitimate question. It may be campaign work, but it gets strange,
So you text to stop defending political foolishness.
It is strange when you
or for
have...
lack of a better word, your party's political BS.
Because, it sounds like there's traffic involved. I don't know if anybody and everybody should be doing that type of work, but it's probably some campaign work.
You need to put the fox on the air. No show puts the fox on the air better and more than Talking Heads texter. So you're talking out the side of your neck. You need to keep the temperature down. You're inciting division. No, I'm calling BS when and where I see it because I'm tired of the whole political culture in this country being based on BS. And you're an independent and undecided voter. Okay, COI, thank you. I have an idea for a fried chicken shack. Does this belong to someone? I know a dude with a long white beard.
Hold on. Wait a minute though. They do copyright. They do copyright recipes, and I can tell you, we are at the point in our existence as human beings where seeds that you put in the ground, and the tree comes up. Those are copyright as well. So it's not just a free for all wild west out there. Some things you do have to give credit, and some things you do have to get permission from. That's the world we're living in today. I just think that ideas that, general ideas are, you don't have to quibble about that. You don't.
All right, we got the clip lined up, MJ. Let's get it in before we get out of here.
I want to hear this, but let's hear this.
This is the alleged plagiarism, allegedly displayed by the PLP's candidate for the Fort Charlotte constituency, Mr. Sebastian. Apparently, in his rant about building homes in this country and electing leaders who build, he actually lifted it verbatim off of a speech from an African economist. And here we go. Let's have a listen.
Is that Africans, for whatever reason, seem insistent on electing leaders who've built nothing and then wonder why they build nothing.
Stop electing leaders that never built anything and wonder why when we elect them, they don't build anything.
Now, can I say, as a comedian, well known internationally and locally, I know a hawk when I see one. That's straight hawking right there. It is verbatim. It is word for word. It is like when a comedian steals the premise and the setup of another comedian, or they steal the setup and the punchline and they come with their own premise. He did none of the above. It was verbatim. Play it again, Mr. Producer, please.
Is that Africans, for whatever reason, seem insistent on electing leaders who've built nothing and then wonder why they build nothing.
Stop electing leaders that never built anything and wonder why when we elect them, they don't build anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a former ambassador to Republic of South Africa, right? I mean,
he's still a hawk. He's a political
some
hawk.
African country. Okay. Oh boy. Yeah.
I can only say that based on the proof in the pudding. Was that not verbatim?
Unless that's a popular, because didn't he have an ambassadorship that dealt with Africa? Unless that's a popular African saying, and he just kind of worked that into his speech.
You mean to tell me,
I don't
Sabas,
know.
all that money you got, you can't hire somebody to write you a speech that ain't gonna make you look like a plagiarist?
Oh boy, I don't know. Let's get back to the marketplace of ideas, where everybody comes up with fresh ideas to move us forward.
And we'll do that on tomorrow's show because we at time. So for MJ and for everybody who called in, texted in, and chimed in, good stuff. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Talking Heads.
Me granny tell me from your little baby that keep at his mouth shall stay out of problem.